Flashing red is paused? No.
Flashing red is paused. Where's the flashing red?
On the front of the camera.
Oh, is it? Oh. Must be something.
Not a problem for me. Maybe I didn't notice it before.
No, a lot of times it's distracting. That's the tally light. That means that the tape is rolling.
Oh, yeah?
I like the sound of the air conditioner.
Testing? Oh, testing. Testing.
Yeah, fine.
Testing. Okay.
You won't hear it loud here if you want to.
Okay. I was on a team at work where we had to invent a bunch of dummy taxpayers to run through the program, and so working about 12-hour days and getting kind of punchy, and you put them in last name first, just government stuff. And then when we were looking over the output from the program, we read it out like it was a civilized person, Smith, John. It becomes John Smith. You got John Smith, yeah. And I had slipped in ting, comma, Tess on 1, 2, 3, 4 court. and so this analyst, he wasn't an analyst then. He was anyway. He may not be now. I don't know. They never tell me anything. It's probably because I don't work there. Anyway, he's punchy as the rest of us are, and he's reading down his John Smith testing. And he got halfway through the address and just kind of looked at me funny.
You knew you did it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was. I'm fond of bad names.
Okay. This should have put a soundtrack on because I turned it anyway. Here's Gene Black.
Scene 1, take 19, click. Red light's off. Is it? We're rolling now? I've been talking to the red light all this time. Yeah, really the blues. The summer spiders shoot across the sky, and I stand in the hot shade of concrete, smoking a joint, watching flying spiders, watching musicians standing in the shade of trees. In the shade of trees too small to shade sextets. Small clots of volunteers wonder if there's a stage manager, and I watch the audience wander in small bands, enduring the heat, suffering the long lull. I'm missing a line about air currents. I have to punch out my typist next time I shave him. So yeah, line about air currents from acres of heat-blighted asphalt support the silkborne aviator with its radiance, but some have landed, begun to spin. Everyone backstage waits, thinking that they're on right after the next act, and I have cobwebs on my feet.
Hello.
Hello. Did I leave for a minute there? This is a poem about teenage suicide written before the latest epidemic, which may stem from locale. It may be that the kids in New Jersey are committing suicide because they're in New Jersey and not because they're teenagers. Not so in my case. Here's a poem about teenage suicide. I never thought I'd feel good about it afterwards, so I never did much about it. And some days I still feel guilty. Another youthful opportunity missed. This is the untitled one with the X across the page 1. I'm going to read through that and probably remember why I didn't want to read this. Anyway, stop the music. I'm pregnant. Oh, what a surprise. I didn't expect this at all. Guess I'll probably miss rehearsal. And the stocking gig. Pity. New sounds, domestic harmonies, and clashings. Beating wrinkles out of the old contract. New marriage forged to fit new needs and new rhythms. The tapping of fetal feet on womb's walls, setting a tempo for new harmonies. And this is the part I was going to leave out. Yes, and transitional paragraph. The house in the woods is large enough for the visitors to stay, not long enough, or forever, or both. Wandering between pond and pasture, stealing hands full of blueberries and borrowing half a cup of art. Amplifiers draw dust in between the washer and the preserves. The bass guitar is retired to the nursery to mimic Mama's heartbeat at nap time. I should cut to audience, a couple of ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dums, and then have 3 or 4 people fall asleep. But time now only for the daytime job and other kinds of playing. Nightclub's just a place to have a drink a few times a year between Little League evenings. Saturdays with buckets and shovels, moving sandbars and making castles. When the tide turns homeward, Nancy steers us carefully through the woods, and sometimes between the solemn fables and told in whispers floating from the back. Fix that line. In whispers floating from the back seat. Quietly we hear in the dusk, "Good work, kids. Let's take it once more from the break. Papa, ooh, mow, mow. Papa, ooh, mow, mow. Papa, 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 ooh." That's the one that needs Dean Avery or somebody. I'm billed as Gene Avery and Stephen Oney and Friends in the Poets News, by the way. Pretty funny.
It'll be Gary Black next.
2, 3, 4. This is another state worker poem here. Sometimes long-promised rain begins in the day, begins to fall unheeded on parking lots full of empty cars. But mostly rain won't fall until night does. Day rains, like night rains, clear the unused air, while we inside, windowless, suffer the subtle rancidities of our colleagues' minds and perfumed flesh. Our reused air is rank with ourselves, and the musty smells of stale wood pulp, the economic residues of strangers' lives. Break for part 2 probably here. Rain's a holy thing. My soul emerges from the soggy communion, cleansed and shining like wet stone steeples, emerges fresh and growing like oaks or daffodils freed from dust. Too often rain dances on dark streets, on shoppers, on diners, on snug homes and dark woods. This time, part 3 probably. Remember to do that sometime. This time walking among trees and poured stone. I see the right beginning. This time unconfined by desk or schedule. This time I saw the first drop hit. This is variously titled. Some days it's the firing process does not call for set times, and sometimes it's clouds, but this is it. In an old book on Chinese alchemy, I found this: fire and water, mouse and mare. Retake. In an old book on Chinese alchemy, I found us: fire and water, mouse and mare. Master Chang teaches that we, genial rodent and sleek equine, embody pure yang and ultimate yin. We, in our fusion, create certain harmonies which the universe requires for its proper operation. Fire, then, and water mingle to show us the clear light. Along the way, we raise so much steam. This one I'm afraid of, but I need a time on it, so here we go. Grandmothers for Peace. 1. The police action. The war left my relatives strewn across the Southwest and the far out West. Like so many families separated by war or tuberculosis or alcohol, by private death or private enterprise, my mother and my father and I grew up together as far west as you could get without falling off. 2. Grandmothers for Hire. The signature grew more querulous each year, but Christmas cards kept coming for 20-odd years. An impersonal comfort across so much space and time. Her name less reeled in the memory of Gingerbread or Danielle's liquid eyes. Danielle would nap through Arthur Godfrey, not rising until the gingerbread had, waking when her baby brother called for his bottle. Sometimes coming up to walk from kindergarten to a hot lunch and warm baked things that seemed my family and greater than blood ties. Need to work on that line too. 3. Cards and parcels come from my mother's father, whom I resemble and faintly remember, and from her mother, paralyzed in New Mexico by 7 babies and 2 strokes. Aunt signed for her. And when she died, my mother flew home to a stranger's funeral and her sister's bickering. Others' grandmothers sent casseroles, made cakes for my father and I alone on the coast. Section 4, the rough one. Probably a title to News from the North. Retired and harmless in Oregon, beer-fuddled old man naps, waiting to turn left. It's Take 2. Retired and harmless in Oregon, beer-fuddled old man naps, waiting in the left turn lane at the town stoplight. With this news and a bottle of Jack Daniels, mashed sourly into a Greyhound's window seat. Stop in Portland for 3 cigarettes and a dive into a bookstore. 4 hours east to meet my father's father. Both of us perhaps grown up by now. I 26 and he's 71. Gently drunk. We talked till 2, my only grandfather and his only grandson, drinking whiskey, eating quesadillas. His second wife, timid, fluttering between kitchen and split-level basements, bearing more quesadillas and sharing flood-stained pictures of relative strangers. Her son, my unmet half-uncle, played tuba, now test rockets, never writes. Several views, too, of the grandmother I never knew. These fading prints, sepiaed or half-toned, half-stained each with mud. Personalities stay in these prints, too, straining through shynesses and sun squints. And new glimpses of my father and his kin. So many faceless and nearly as many nameless, all my blood. Strangers mostly lost between a soul-catching lens and time-eater of souls. Souls consumed to mute. Leave that line out anyway, what the hell. Need a metronome. 6. I try not to remember to tell myself that every family has its secret mythologies. But sometimes I wondered if this picture or that was taken before or after this episode or that, weighing each character's distance. This is still in process piece. Seven, yes. Roy's first wife died young, her children 7 and 14. She packed her children off to school, 30 miles by rail, 35 by horse. Yeah, shit. It's very much in process. 35 by horse until they were 7 and 14 when she died too young. The warmth sucked out of her tubercular body by the border's winter soil. Her face bordered by blossoming fresh bruises. Roy drank for several weeks that winter. Drank himself wall-eyed and crazy. Unconsolable, uncomforted, uncomforting. Her death certificate reads pneumonia. Mine, 8. Mine, God willing, will read gingerbread. What? The cedar is, yes? Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. The cedar is withering nicely in your old neighborhood. The stucco holding up well enough. The stucco holding up well enough, anyway. And the air still clear and warm. The shadows deep and cool. I grew up more here than where I lived when I grew up. The new trees are big now. The landscaping rooted, terraced, the landscaping. 1 too many lines. Terraced landscaping, rooted and rerouted. The only apartments at the end of the road are lost now in the crowded condos and offices that fill the field across the street. No more psychedelic prairie. No more refuge for young lovers. No more sanctuary for butterflying. No more privacy for the too wasted. No more thistles for young masochist socks. And you have moved too into some remote corner of your soul. Your veins cry for needles, your heart cries for stoppage. And I was going to work in a little rhyme at the end about books still unread and the poem still unsaid, but cut.